So Felix and I today are going to talk about the couple of ideas that came up with our discussions, what we can do with AI, and how we went about that and what we actually created. So let's see what we have. And first, Felix.
Yep. So first of all, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Oz, for giving us the opportunity to present this to you and to the group. I speak loud, so I was just raising my voice, but I guess this works too. So who is SBA Communications? SBA Communications is a small little company up the road over here. Where our market cap's around $27 billion. We are in the wireless infrastructure space. So we own and operate over 40,000 towers in the Americas, in the African continent, and the South Pacific. In there, we have about 1,800 employees, and pretty complex environment that we have.
So we're going to talk about some landscape and how we address that.
Yep. So our enterprise controls about 200 legal entities. We have an application called Great Plains or Dynamics GP. So based off of that architecture of that system, we have over 200 databases that we operate in, with hundreds of users that are using this system. On any given moment, there are good.
Now we don't have to share.
Yeah, exactly. Any given moment, we have thousands of transactions happening daily with the amount of users and transactions we have. Now, because of all of those databases and all of these transactions, we've had, and the shortcomings of Great Plains, we've had to develop over 100 custom applications just to keep that system working. And those 100 applications have integrations that go amongst each other and ultimately feed the ERP system. So a lot of things can go wrong within that system. To make things even worse, we have 12 posting servers that process transactions around the clock. Now that's a lot, especially for a Great Plains house. We have an application support team that supports all of this activity and all these applications, and they field over 340 calls a month just on GP alone. And at the end of the month, the last week of the month, when things get really, really hectic, it's over 150 calls for just that week alone. Our financial system and our people are obviously pushed to their limits. So our people need help. The application support team, on top of that, supports something called a WIP close. Now, one of the core competencies of SBA is construction. We build cell phone towers. So as I said, we're in the wireless infrastructure space. With those 40,000 towers, most were acquired, some were built. Now with that, there's a construction and process activity that happens throughout the month. We have thousands of projects that we maintain throughout the month, and some of those close and some of those stay open. Now the team that is also supporting all these folks is the team that does the WIP close at the end of this month. And by the way, that's a small team. So they're fairly busy.
So as you can see, we have identified like multiple challenges. One of them is like high load on the help desk.
Yeah, so as we said, at the end of the month, that ERP team, or the application support team, they send out a notification and say, hey, at 5 o'clock on Friday, we need all activity done for this month. So you've taken a very hectic time and you've turned that into a frustrating time. So people have to get this done, and they start making a lot of phone calls to the help desk.
Yeah, we also saw that the critical financial processes are not running smoothly.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, you have over 100 applications that are feeding each other and feeding a financial system across 3 production environments with 200 databases. Things can go wrong.
And as you can imagine, there is an inefficient solution resolution.
Yeah, so what happens today typically is, especially during these critical moments, somebody will put in a ticket, then they'll pick up a phone and they'll call. Then they're going back and forth. So average time is about 22 minutes from the time a high priority, easy solution happens or problem happens until it's a solution.
And as always, there is an impact on audits, books, overall financial health.
As Steve mentioned, because we're a publicly traded company, audits happen. So we have to make sure that all of our systems and anytime we touch production is documented. So on top of issue resolution, that support team is documenting these issues to make sure that anytime that they've touched production, audit is happy with that.
And as always, like in these situations, there is constant scrabbling for IT and finance and help desk resources. And that's what we wanted to address.
Yep, exactly.
So to address that, we actually took the iterative approach where we created a lot of collaboration activities. We went through like several brainstorming sessions. Like we tried to identify what are the main pain points. We started like from wireframes, mock-ups, and then we started to build it.
Yep. Yeah, so we reached out to Oz and we said, hey, we've got some problems. And we'd like to see how AI can help and how Oz can help us with this.
And as a result, which Maria already told, we came up with two solutions. The one is the Bob the Agent. This is a conversational AI chatbot for guided assistance. And another one is the Bob the Fixer. It actually fixes the problem, not only by telling you what to do, but actually identifying what the problem is, suggesting, and going into the resolution. Both of these solutions are based on the AI. They have intelligent issue management, and they have some automated actions. So a couple words about the Bob the Agent. The Bob the Agent is based on LLMs. It has access to SBA-specific data. In this case, we worked on the Dynamics GP. And it has a potential to be extended to multiple other systems. And with that, let's see how technology behaves. Like, let me show you what we actually built and if we can show it like in the real time.
So everybody's always worried about AI and what it'll lead to. We're going to do probably the most dangerous thing. It's doing a live demo with AI.
Yeah. All right, so this is how our Bob the Agent looks like.
Okay, so I am right now just new to the company, and it's the end of the month, and I'm scrambling. I need to post some activity. How do I create a journal entry?
To make it easier for the user, we actually pre-populated like most common questions, and all you need to do is click on that, and it's going to go out and start to generate the answers. I know that the screens are small. You will not be able to see like everything, but that's not the purpose for this specific one. And let's see how long it's going to take it to actually come up with the answer.
So what this is doing right now is this is looking at the user guides and the user manuals, the how-to guides that are out in our application, and we've taken that data and we've put that into the AI. So the AI isn't just giving a general answer. So if you have customizations or anything else like that in your system, you can put those in.
So as you can see, this specific agent returns the instructions with examples because we trained it to be the expert in Dynamics GP. As I said, like you will not read a lot of that. Like I can enlarge it, but I don't think we need to. But you don't have the time to read it.
No,
all, right?
I don't, because it's the end of the month, and I've got to post this activity. I don't have time to read all that.
Right. So
make that shorter. Come on.
What do? We just say, okay, like I see all the data, but can you summarize it? Like for me, like for example, in 2 paragraphs. And of course, I could type, but I think like if I cut and paste, it would be quicker and easier. And now it's summarizing it in 2 paragraphs. Basically, 2 or less, whatever. Now it's like 1.
I just did it in 1. Yeah.
Right. And I think it's not done yet.
No, right. There we go.
Yeah, so it's 2 paragraphs.
I was going to say, it was better than we asked.
As expected. So on top of that, we have the reference to documentation. So like anytime it shows something, it actually shows you where it found it, and it shows which document it worked with. As a part of the interface, you can see we have the complete chat history. So we can come back and check like what was asked. And it's all stored like in a Microsoft environment as well. So this is the generic functionality. As I said, like we have multiple questions that we can answer, and this is more like the ChatGPT because once you have this answer, you can start to summarize, you can start to ask specifics and so on. But it is personalized more like towards the expert in the Dynamics GP. I'm going to show you the slide on the architecture, just to give you the idea of what it is. And now I'm not going to go on stage because now I'm going to click through here. So this whole application is based on Microsoft platform. It uses the typical AI services like Azure AI Search, Azure OpenAI, It allows you to ingest the documents in the different formats like JSON, PDF, Word, Excel, whatever documents you need to bring in. And we put it like in the app service, and we created it as application, web application. And as you can see, like we also storing the history in the Cosmos DB. So here's just kind of latest and greatest. Any questions, comments on the agent? All right, let's get into the interesting part, debug the fixer. So debug the fixer, the idea is it's not only like telling you what to do, but it actually goes, looks for the problems and fixes it. So it has the automatic detection based on the specific rules that we teach it to do. Like we can build the model that actually can recognize the problems. It has the conversational guys. It tells you like how to address the problem. It integrates with multiple systems. In this case, it can integrate with Exchange, hidden system, email, and other things. It has the proactive guidance as well, and it tracks the issues resolution, and you have all the stats. It uses the NLP, machine learning, general AI, and so on. So now we're going to get into the next demo, which is going to be Bob the Fixer.
Yep, so in
Utah Cloud, by the way, you can have mine.
All right. So in our environment, now we have, it's not working, it's fine. I can talk about it. In our environment, we have, as I was saying, a lot of integrations. And the way that GP works is it batches activity. So you have all these financial transactions that are put in batches. Those batches are then posted into the financial system. That's how they're committed both to the subledgers and the GL. So with all of that activity, you sometimes will have issues where batches are stuck. And especially at the end of the month, we get a lot of stuck batch issues.
So similar to the previous agent, we pre-populated some of the typical problems, and we'll just start with I have issue with financial batch.
Yep, exactly. So, hey, I've got a batch that's stuck. How do I unstick it?
I think this one I may enlarge so you can see better like what it talks about. Yeah. But overall, like the first step is it asks you to log in because it needs to authenticate you. It knows like who's actually talking to it. So, and it's as simple as integrated with your AD or Entra system, and it just generates the code for you. So once you have the code in.
Oh, and by the way, those questions that are pre-populated, you can type those in as well. You
Yes.
can type it in other ways than are written here.
So the first thing it does, like after you log in, it tells you, okay, I understand you do have the problem with financial batches. Would you like me to escalate it or contact the support, or would you like me to address it?
Right, so those two options there actually drive different directions of things. The notify support will create a ticket in the the ticketing system, and then that goes the normal route.
So in this case, let's say like, no, I want you to help me. So once I do that, it goes in and it checks the condition of the batches.
Yep.
In this case, we have like few batches with the problems. We give you the quick summary of what they are, and kind of like asking you like, which batch do you want to address?
So what this chat is actually doing is not only integrating with me and interfacing with me, and we're asking it questions, but it's actually going out to the financial system, and it's looking for activity that is less than normal. So this isn't all of our batches. This is just the batches that have an issue.
So let's say we pick up the batch, and once we know which batch we want to look at, it gives us the more detailed information. Here we just displayed just few pieces of information, but you can extend it and you can have the whole card for the ticket. And in this specific flow, it asks like, this is the ticket, do you still want me to address it? And as we all know, like, are you sure you want to delete this record, right? Mm-hmm. So in this case, yes, I want to do that.
So this is what it's doing now is, it's not necessarily deleting the record, it's resetting it into a state that now I, as a user, can go in and edit that and find the issue. What was the issue? Go in and address that issue.
Yeah, and when I said about the deleting the record, I was joking. So, so in this case, it found the batch, it addressed it, and it created the ticket in the support system. So you can actually have the trace of this ticket. It gives you the ticket number, the date when it was created, and kind of like, thank you for using Bob the Fixer.
But it's being more proactive because it knows that you just addressed one, but there are more, and it says like, I found more. Do you want to address them now? And let's say, yeah, I'm still the person who's working like in this specific department, and I know that I do have more. So I click yes, and it goes through the similar cycle, basically does the same thing, and then addresses, fixes, and at the moment when it addresses and creates the ticket, it sends you the email as well, so you get the instant notification. I turned off my Outlook so you guys don't see all the emails that I'm getting at the moment. But in the parallel, you actually do that and you have it.
Right. So we've really hit 3 systems here. We could hit more if we needed to. But this knew which environment to go into and address it. Because remember I mentioned I have 3 production environments of my financial system. So it addressed it there. It went into my ticketing system, created a ticket with all the information that's relevant. So I have all my audit trail there. It has in there all the scripting that was done and everything else. And then it also sent an email not only to you and to me, but also to the help desk folks so that they understand that something happened as well.
So in this case, we pick up and say, okay, I addressed mine. I don't really want to look at anything else, right? So I said no. And we close in the session in this matter, and we're giving you the complete traceability. We're giving you the session ID. We're giving you the bot ID and the bot name, so you can identify like who did what when. So that's the flow like when you need to address the ticket. I'm gonna go through one more, just a different scenario. So let's say I start the same. I'm gonna log in one more time. You'll know what it is now. So like it, and you see the number of batches decreases because we have addressed some of them. So now let's say like I want to just take a look at this task ticket, and I click on that. It gives me the same information, says do you want me to address? Say yes. Now it looks at the stats for this ticket, and it tells me, you know what, you worked on this ticket 5 times already within the 7 days. Something is wrong with it. Like, do you want me to escalate it to support team? And in this case, I say, yeah, I do. So what it does, it actually puts this ticket in the support queue, and it gives you the message that according to SLAs, like you should hear back like from the support team like within like 60 minutes because it's a high priority ticket. At the same time, it sends the notification to support team, to you, and everybody involved. And the idea here is that after like 60 minutes, you can come back, and if we develop more functionality, you're gonna get into the dashboard and you're gonna see like where my ticket is at the moment, and then go from there. So that was about the more like intelligence and some of the areas that you can work on. But I wanted to show you one other thing. This Bob the Fixer actually has a lot of analytics built in as well. So what you see here is the performance of the bot and the statistics of like how many times it was addressed, what it did, and other things. If you work with the bot and you kind of, you know, like every time like you have a post or something, you have like or dislike, you can have these capabilities in here. If you do that, then you'll see like how many tickets were addressed properly, how many not, and you'll see the customer satisfaction. If you do it properly, you can work on the topics as well. And I think what's the very good feature of that is that we bring in you the ability to look at your history and look at what you've been asking, what you're doing, and how it worked. On top of that, we actually bring in you the statistics on the tickets, the specific tickets like that we've been going through, and that's what you can address, like the number of tickets, the resolution, and all other things. And you can customize all these dashboards, and it could be part of your system. So any comments, questions?
Yes. So is this purely automated, or is there an option for a human in the loop?
So this at this moment is purely automated. But the human in the loop piece is where it was asking, do you want to escalate it to somebody in support, or do you want to use the bot?
So not real time, but with an escalation.
Yes.
All right, and before I talk about the architecture, I wanted to show you something else.
Oh, there was one more.
Go ahead.
The batch that was stuck.
Yes.
Did it actually take the action to
Yes.
correct that?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's releasing that batch, and when it so it's not only querying the database SQL, but it's also once that's done, it takes the appropriate action based off of how that batch is stuck. Now that action could be to release it to continue posting. It could be to release it because it has an issue that a user has to handle. So it's really up to that. So the user can open that back up, and it's not sitting in. If anybody here has ever used Great Plains, you know that once a batch is stuck, you can't do anything with it. It's just kind of there until you release it. Yes?
So as far as suggesting how to fix the error, okay, it needs to, so you need to add, change the dates, right?
Right. So it doesn't necessarily do that. We could easily put that in there. There are plenty of checks that you could do in there because the data, it's reading the data. So it could have those validation steps in there for sure.
Yeah, Joe, it's not in this version, but it's definitely something that can be done, and the additional logic can be added.
Yep. There was another question.
How much data cleanup did you have to do can you repeat the question?
Oh yeah. So the question is, how much data cleanup did we have to do to get this to work? None, because this is looking right now at the transactions as they're flowing through the system. So that's how this is looking. The only place I would say right now in today's configuration is that you have to really have anything that's worthwhile is your user guides and your manuals for the Bob the Agent piece. Because that's the one that the user, in a situation like us, we have over 100 applications. That's 100 user guides people have to go through. It's a lot of learning curve. So with the Bob the Agent, we can upload all of those documents into the bot, and the learning curve shortens drastically because the people don't have to read everything, and they also don't have to know how to interact with this. They just do it because it's an LLM.
And talking about the interaction, I wanted to show you something else. And let's see if it's going to work or not going to work, but a couple of things. First of all, I checked it that it needs to talk to your data, so it's specifically to your data. Let's see. Let's refresh.
Remember what I said about AI and live demos?
Yep. But it worked before. Would be good to see if it works now.
Death by demo, I call it.
Come on. You know what? It may need some time to load. All right. While I'm doing that, you can continue to ask questions.
Yes. Yes.
So, just to preface, I do have put in AI. I've used ChatGPT before and kind of play around with your analysis. So, I guess my question for you is with these kind of enclosed systems, do you deal with hallucinations? Because obviously that's very prevalent in ChatGPT 4 based off the data set. I mean, you feel as though sometimes it needs to be humble and just say, I don't know, occasionally, or reference this situation, but I don't know if that's something that occasionally comes up. I know you're mainly using the source material of the pre-populated guides for that, and then also integrating within your system to provide real-time data. But have you ran into implementation issues?
We have with other projects that we worked on with AI. And AI in its nature is meant to be fuzzy. It's meant to kind of blur the lines and give you, factually incorrect data sometimes. So what we've done to limit that is kind of limit the scope of what it's doing and not necessarily opening it up to its entire knowledge base. So if I were to go right now to ChatGPT cold, right, just go into ChatGPT and ask it the same question, how do I post a financial batch? It's going to give me a pretty similar answer. But because we've told it not to do that its reference material is only our documentation, now it's not going to give me a general answer. So if I have customizations in place and I have approvals within the how to post a transaction, it's going to include that in there instead of just the general, hey, here's how you create a financial transaction, you enter it here, you post it, and you're done. It'll include all of that.
By the way, let's try to ask one question here.
You want me to ask it?
I don't know if it's going to hear you. So how do I close the financial year?
To close the financial year in Microsoft Dynamics GP, follow these steps. 1. Post all transactions. Ensure all transactions for the current.
So basically, this is another way to interact with your assistant. You can not only type in, but you can talk. And on top of that, you can still ask the questions here, and it's going to tell you. And additional ways, like you can actually upload the image, and it's going to analyze it and tell you what the image is about and what kind of configuration, for example, you need to put in. So this is what we're doing. That's what we're exploring.
The requested information is not available in the retrieved data.
All right. There's your hallucination
It just
right there.
tells you that it listens to me, right? So one more slide regarding the architecture.
Yeah, and we have a pretty good roadmap too that we're doing to extend the functionality of this. I don't want to give too much away, but it's,
you know what? Like, let's keep architecture. Let's just go.
It's pretty innovative what we're doing. So what is the value to SBA with all of this, right? Not only SBA, but I guess anybody else that wants to use something like this, is your time to resolution accelerates tremendously. I mentioned about 22 minutes on average for somebody with a high priority item that's simple because of all the back and forth that has to happen. You know, batch recovery is something we do pretty often, so we've got it pretty scripted, but it still requires some back and forth and somebody to type things down. So this went from 22 minutes of somebody frustrated because it's 5:30, it's supposed to be done at 5, and they're talking to somebody in support, his phone's ringing off the hook. Went down to a couple minutes without having to interact with anybody. So they're able to identify their issue, resolve it, and all the documentation is done and out of the way. So nobody has to do anything. So that, of course, goes to user satisfaction. You know, the users are, I mean, I can't think of anybody that wouldn't be happy with something like that.
You have different type of users.
Yeah.
So some of them like just
Some
like
people
to play games,
yeah.
and this is like another aspect. Like
Oh, sure.
The game.
Of course. And some people like to talk to other people. Some people don't like that automated process. That's fine. We have still the application support teams available. 24-hour support. We're a global organization. You know, it's 5 p.m. Eastern time is great for us, but not great for other people. So with this, you know, somebody's there all the time. So they can be processing and working at any hour without having to interact with somebody or wake somebody up in the middle of the night to do something. The 360-degree visibility, you saw the charts. You saw all the metrics that are measured. And the beauty of that, too, is that because it's a bot doing the data entry, it's standardized. So if anybody's done anything with the reporting, try to group on a field that somebody types in. It's very, very hard. So with this, it's always the same. So you get really, really clean metrics out of this.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Well, before we go, I have one question. It's definitely not on this card that was given to me beforehand, off the top of my head. So from start to finish, concept to what you showed us kind of last week, how long did that take?
With multiple iteration, it took about 3 months to build.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know, guys, thank you so much. That was great. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.